we have a special guest here today. Max, you want to show yourself?
Hi, everybody.
That's my son, Max.
I'm an artist and a musician, and I recently became a certified life coach. And I am making a lot of mistakes, but I'm trying to learn along the way how to be more authentic in relationships. And I'm here to talk to you guys about being more real and being vulnerable today.
So let's get started. What is vulnerability and why do we need it in our romantic relationships? Vulnerability is really how we develop intimacy, and we often guard ourselves because of past pain, and we just don't want to be too open with people that we're just meeting. But many people actually misinterpret vulnerability. I'm going to talk a little bit about what vulnerability is not, and then we're going to go into what vulnerability is, and Max is going to share some examples from his own life. So here's what it is not. When you're dating, it is not oversharing when you first meet somebody. We tend to think that if we give our whole life story and talk about all the hard stuff, it's a great way to connect, and it actually is a boundary crossing. So oversharing is not a way to be vulnerable. It's actually a way to keep your guards up. And vulnerability is not keeping quiet when you have something important or authentic or honest to say.
We had like an analogy, kind of like a moat for the castle, like when you're dating somebody, it's a really scary and vulnerable thing when you're starting to tell people about who you are besides with the surface stuff. So it's like kind of like you have your moat up, like these are my past pains and these are my issues, and are you sure you still want to come into the castle, because these are all my scary boogeyman type things. So it's like understanding that that's not really a great thing to bring first when you're meeting someone, because you want to be you want to be your authentic you, to have fun with people and bring your true self forward.
That is very true. And I've had a lot of first phone calls where men say things to disqualify themselves. And it's kind of along the same lines where, you sure you want to date me? I may not be as smart as you, or I may not.
Which is always a good look. Right?
You're right.
Yeah.
Or maybe I don't make enough money, the kind of lifestyle you're used to. They just make a whole bunch of assumptions about me, and they already have disqualified themselves. And they may think that they're being vulnerable by sharing, hey, I don't make it. Yeah, it's more about insecurity. So when you're on a date and you want to say something and you feel like you have something important to share and you keep quiet, that's not vulnerability. That's still guarding
And it's
yourself.
Also important too, it's not just to act like this on dates. It's really important to be like this throughout your life. And my mom and I talk about this a lot, but you shouldn't treat a date like it's a special occasion. You should be bringing the same person that you are in your everyday life to these situations too, because then you become more relaxed when you're talking to somebody, which is, I think, why we get in our own head and are not able to be vulnerable in a healthy way, because you're so focused on like the date is this unique, special, really important thing. And at the end of the day, you're just trying to hang out with somebody and see if they're, your type of crazy, if you will. But it's important throughout your life. You got to be, authentic. It has to be the same.
That's a great point. I think we have to just practice showing up authentically everywhere in our lives. And the same thing with flirting, and just be playful everywhere. So you're not putting a date on a pedestal and making it into, oh my God. And, that for people who are anxious, anybody who's listening who's anxious, me definitely also, the more you do this, the less anxious you are, because you're not looking at your date as somebody who's, oh my God, if this doesn't work out, I'm devastated. You just keep moving through your life. And your life
is more playful and fun, which is really the whole point of the whole thing. You are just having fun and not taking yourself so seriously, which is why a lot of people feel like they have to tell everybody about all their issues right away, because it's like, well, if I'm going to invest in this, if I'm going to be, if you're going to be my life partner, and it's like, I don't even know if I like you yet, or why are we doing that? And I was telling my mom earlier this week, I had an experience where I was hanging out with with a girl, and we kissed, and then all of a sudden it was all of these things like, just so you know, I'm needy, just so you know, I have insecurities, I'm working on it, but it's this, and this. And it was like, I don't even know where this is going yet. But because of past hurt that I'm sure she went through, you bring it forward, and it's like that moat type of thing. Like, are you sure you want to come in? Because here is all of my baggage, and it really is a bad look because it kind of freaked me out. And, it's one of those things that I used to struggle with, but I'm really working on just trying to be present in the moment. And those things will eventually come forward. And we were talking about it before about the story, the romance story, that you want to slowly let the thing unfold. It's not just, here's everything that's wrong with me, take it or leave it. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that was a great example. And I think it brings up a couple of things. One is, it's okay to kiss somebody and then find out stuff about them that makes you not want to see them again, because you start to feel like it's a burden to be with them because they've just overshared, which was point number one, about their life and about their insecurities, thinking that that's vulnerability. But what it really is it's a guard they put up to say, I hope you don't hurt me. And
that's a you thing. You got to work on that before you come to a date, because nobody's going to take care of that except for you. When that comes through, it's like, I immediately felt like I had to take care of this person, which is something that I've had to do in past relationships or chosen to do. And it never makes me feel good. It never makes me feel happy, because it's like, at the end of the day, if I have that feeling of, if I'm not available immediately, this person's going to become anxious. It's, that's their responsibility. And there's another coach that I follow, but he always says you have to, participate in your own success. And this is such a huge, example of that, by, choosing the right type of vulnerability to bring forward, and showing, your playful side and being really your authentic you. I think that's the most attractive form of vulnerability, where it's like, you don't care about the results. You're just being you, which is really important. But who you are, that's the life work,
And most people have no idea what that means or how to show up as them, because they're so used to wanting to be liked. And those are all, it's really important. I think the word responsible came up for me as you were talking, because so much of this is taking responsibility for your part. Like you said, that's your work. And we often think that we can give all of our insecurities to somebody else to manage. And that's what it sounds like when you say, hey, listen, I'm really insecure. I'm going to need you to text me a lot. And I hope you're not like all the other people I dated who kissed me and left me. And then you're like, well, no wonder. Right. And so
you're a real prize,
Yeah.
It's just like, I want to learn that for myself. Don't just sabotage it right there, then and there.
Yeah. And then you make up a story about why somebody didn't call you back. And it's, oh, see, all people are like that
Right.
He just proved to me that all men just are out for, sleeping with me.
You got to work on your stuff.
Yeah. Work on your stuff,
Yeah.
Work on your stories. So let's talk a little bit about what vulnerability is, because we've talked about what it's not.
Let's go over what it wasn't again real quick. Just
Okay.
the three.
Yeah. So, I forgot one of the points. So the first one is don't overshare. That's not a vulnerability. That's actually a boundary crossing. The second one is not being open and honest. When you have something to say and your authentic self, it's just keeping all of that quiet. To be like, for women, it's often being the cool girl. Oh,
Guys
I don't want to.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Feeling needy because I'm speaking up. Talking about your exes was the third point. We often will come to dates thinking, oh, talk about why other people did something to us. And it just paints you as a victim. Max, do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, it's not only with dating, but it's really staying stuck in a past mindset. Like I do so much work. I know you do so much work on yourself. And I think as you get older, you can't just carry your pain with you from your past, because it's like, I heard this the other day, there's a guru I found on YouTube, and he was like, so many people live their life stuck in a mindset from when you were where you were in your life 10 years ago, or even a year ago or a week ago. If you're not being present, you're missing out on so much, and you just have all this stress, but it's in your head. And the beauty of all this is that there are so many skills. Like, you teach all these skills, in your business, on how to move forward from those things and how to heal in a healthy way, because if you're not bringing the present version of yourself, because it really is nothing except the present right now, it's an illusion, it's a dream, and it's imaginary, and it's not who you want to be showing up as.
Yeah. And so we have to unhook from those old stories and from old ways of being, and always be in a growth mindset, but try to be as present as possible. I love that. Vulnerability is being brave, actually, and brave enough to share who you really are, your thoughts, not just what you think the other person wants to hear. And so that's the opposite of the cool girl or the cool guy. You're really sharing who you are. And Max, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I mean, this whole list, it's like the vulnerability really, because there's a lot of these little bullet points. I don't know if we have to go through all of them, but it's being honest with your feelings and your thoughts. And I think we get stuck in our head a lot of the time, thinking that it would be uncool to be truthful, or it would be socially off to be honest. And even yesterday I was driving in a car with someone who was smoking a cigarette. I don't smoke. I don't like the way it smells. I don't appreciate that it's unhealthy to breathe in cigarette smoke. And we're in a confined space. There's COVID-19 going around, and it was one of those things where in the past, I mean, I have a memory. I'm a musician, and I went to Brooklyn once, and there was this guy. I met him in his apartment. It was the first time we'd met, and we were playing guitar, and he asked me if it's okay if he smoked a cigarette, and I didn't know how to say no, so I said yes, and I felt horrible after, because he just was chain smoking in his apartment with the windows open. But still, it was one of those moments where I really wasn't okay with it. And so I've learned from that. And yesterday I asked the guy to put the cigarette out, because it just was really unpleasant. And I think in dates, people stay so much longer. Even in relationships, you stay so much longer in marriages too, because you're not comfortable speaking up and being honest with the other person. And nobody wins that way. If you're not being truthful, you can feel it. I mean, most people are not stupid when it comes to feeling vibes from people. Mm-hmm. And if you don't speak your truth, you will be in a less pleasant state of mind. I mean, it's just a really simple truth.
Very true. Yeah. And it's hard to speak your truth. It feels vulnerable, and it's good to speak your truth, because if you don't, you're leading the other person to believe things that aren't true. And so I had a phone call yesterday with somebody I met on Bumble. And after the phone call, after maybe 5-10 minutes, I knew that I didn't want to meet him. And when he asked me, so do you want to get together? And I said, honestly, you seem like a nice guy, but I don't feel the connection I'm looking for. Which is really hard to say for a lot of people. It is.
I still struggle with that a lot too, because you're always worried how you're going to affect the other person.
Yeah.
Which is, kind of ridiculous if you think about it, because you're going to be stuck with someone who's doesn't have common values, or who isn't your speed. And it's like, no one's going to be happy that way.
Right. And I felt it throughout the call that we were just not vibing, and there were so many times where the conversation wasn't but the conversation wasn't flowing, and I already knew, and he shared a lot of his insecurities, a lot of the things that we just talked about that were a turn off. And so I just wasn't interested in making this date happen. And he appreciated it. He said, I appreciate your honesty.
It takes a lot of courage, and also a lot of work, because it's not something that you can just go, oh, I'm going to be honest with people. No. You have to practice it. Just like we were saying before, it's not just about days. It's about your whole life. You have to be this way all the time.
Yeah.
Or as much as you can, because it's okay if you mess up. But as long as you're working on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm that way with potential clients. If I don't feel it's a good fit, I'll tell them. Sometimes they need more therapy before they're ready to really open up to coaching. And I'll be honest about that, because it's in service to the other person. Nobody wins when you're being dishonest. So the first point about being brave enough to share your true thoughts is really, really important. And the next one encompasses a bunch of things, and it's really about being playful. And that includes being awkward sometimes, being funny, like your humor is vulnerable, like trying to make somebody laugh and they don't laugh. That can feel really vulnerable, but that's a big part of us that we often keep hidden when we're first getting to know people, and we come across as super serious and we want to impress somebody, which is all being guarded and armored up.
Right.
So
I used to hide that part of myself a lot, because I wanted to show up in every aspect of my life as somebody who other people liked. And the minute that I let that idea go that I didn't need to make anybody happy, or rather anyone like me except for myself, because at the end of the day, it's you and yourself. You just start coming into your own. And I remember even as far back as being 12 years old at summer camp, and I didn't bring out my truth until the last day or two when we were packing up to go home. And I remember all of my, bunk mates going like, who the hell are you?
Right.
Like, where was this funny guy, a month or two ago? It's like, you miss out. And then because of that, I made some great friends. And then the next year it was a lot easier. But when you're out of alignment with yourself, nobody wins,
True.
And it's about winning. I mean, we need wins after, the crazy couple of years that we've been having now. And it's not even just now, it's your whole life gets so much easier when you're authentic, because it's, you weed out all of the weird, bad connections that you would have if you're just trying to please everybody else except for yourself.
So true. And Max is a very funny guy. You may not see his humor yet, but he is very funny. So humor.
That would have been a good time for a joke.
That would have been, yeah. But we don't want to try too hard.
Right.
So humor, playfulness, just, I have something in my profile that says I'm a troublemaker. And so the guy yesterday he got curious about that. He was like, you seem to be somebody who likes to have fun and make trouble. Tell me more about that. And right away, you're getting into a conversation that tells more, shows the playful side of who you are. And when did you like to get into trouble when you were younger? Are you not a rule follower? Like, now we're having a really interesting conversation rather than what do you do for a living?
Right.
And all that kind of boring.
And it's fun. I mean, most people don't enjoy following the rules, but everybody feels like they have to be on their best behavior. But then you're not going to have fun, because it's like, then, at the end of the day, the person goes, yeah, I didn't feel a connection. I like to take risks. And you go, oh, well, I did too. But because I'm so out of alignment with myself and I don't know how to express that in my everyday life, and I'm showing up as this weird Frankenstein version of myself, to try and make you happy. I wish I could have said those things, but it's like, instead of, woulda, shoulda, woulda, couldas, you got to be like that in your everyday life. And yeah. I mean, all these things apply not just to dating. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah,
it's pretty much, I say this all the time. What I teach is not just about dating, it's about life skills and living a better life. So let's share one more. And I think one of the most important is to talk about how you feel, not just how you think. When you are being vulnerable, you can say, I'm feeling a little nervous, or I was really looking forward to meeting you, or sharing compliments. That can feel really vulnerable. I love the way your tie, or nobody wears ties, but I like the way your shirt,
people wear ties.
Not very many. Your shirt really brings out the blue in your eyes, and that's just it's beautiful. That's a great color for you. Something that's not too big, not like, oh my God, you're the most amazing person in the world. I think we're a perfect match and let's get married. Sharing feelings, it's really hard for us to do that. So Max, do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, to make it simple, or to put it simple rather, it's more, I've had experience of this before. Nobody can read anybody else's mind. And if you don't express what's going on in your head, how is the other person going to grow? How are they going to know what you're feeling? How are they going to know how to respond to what you're saying? Or if they said something that you didn't agree with or you thought was negative, I mean, you have to talk, you have to explain things. And I know everybody's at a different stage in their life with these things, but you have to be in process. You have to be learning the words that feel truthful to you. But, if you don't express your emotions, you don't express what's going on for yourself, and that can show up in any way. I know a lot of guys and women have, issues being maybe what they would consider soft, with emotions, because it really is a vulnerable thing. But there's a way to say, I didn't like that. When you did this, that made me feel kind of weird. Can we talk about that? And it can be as simple as that, or you can be as expressive as you want. But you have to find your voice. You have to do this in every area of your life. You got to be this, more transparent version of yourself. Because again, the whole idea is that you have more pleasantness, make your life easier for yourself. And when you're not doing these things, it's counterproductive to that.
Truth bomb right there. I want to leave everybody with a question, or maybe some homework, to really look at, or maybe a challenge, I would say, to look at the places where you're armoring up in your life, where you're shielding yourself from being vulnerable, and make one baby step in the direction of vulnerability, whether it's being a little more playful or sharing more feelings or sharing your true thoughts, like put that cigarette out, or can you put your phone away, please? We're here to make a connection. I'd feel more comfortable or more connected with you if we were both fully present. If you don't ask for that, you don't get it. And then you walk away from the date thinking, I could have had a better connection if I had spoken up or been truly aligned with who I am. Max, do you have any final words?
I mean, you wrapped it up great. It's more just that there's an amazing world out there full of amazing connections. And I know it can feel isolating sometimes if you're not finding matches on dating sites, or, your social anxieties are kind of winning at the moment. I definitely struggle with being too much in my own head. But what has worked for me in every area of my life is not taking myself so seriously and trying to be more honest with people and more playful and fun in every area of my life, so that when I'm on a date or when I'm talking to somebody who I'm really, into, it's not this, rare thing, and I'm not just totally thrown off. So I bring forth a fake version of myself. This is going to help you to be more real and find truer connections, finding better friends, finding a better job, finding a better partner, just having a better time at life. And I think everybody would benefit from that. So that's what I would say. Just work on finding your voice, work on finding your truth. And these are huge terms. It's not going to happen overnight, but just start doing something different today. Where yesterday you went, oh, I wish I would have said something. Try speaking up with one thing, no 0 days.
And it's going to come out sloppy and messy in the beginning. It's a start, but it'll feel better than staying silent and doing nothing. So just start where you are and go forward. Vulnerability rocks.
Do it.